Hi guys, so this week we are starting Unit 3. Now all of our stories and all of our lessons in Unit 3 are going to be about the topic called one of a kind. Now one of a kind means that you are unique or that you're an individual with special qualities and special characteristics that are important to each and every person. So that is going to be what our unit will be about for the next 5 weeks. Now this week, the title of our chapter is called Be Unique. And we're going to be talking about, well, what makes different animals unique? And this animal is one of my favorite in the entire world. Now, I'm sure you know what this animal is called. This is a bottlenose dolphin. And bottlenose dolphins are unique mammals. They have the right shape for gliding through the water, and they talk to each other by whistling. All animals have qualities that are unique. Animals use their special features to get what they need, protect themselves, and communicate. So dolphins communicate with each other very differently than squirrels communicate or the way that we communicate. It is all very different and unique to each animal or person. So let's start with our vocabulary for today. So our first word is disbelief. So disbelief is a refusal or an inability to accept that something is true. I do not believe it. Winnie stared in disbelief at the huge shark. Next, we have dismay. Dismay is when you are feeling some kind of distress, and it's usually caused by something that is unexpected, maybe a little bit of sadness. Marco looked at the rain with sadness and dismay. Next, we have fabulous. So fabulous means that something is extraordinary or amazing or wonderful. Could also mean that it's very, very large, larger than life. The fireworks were amazing and fabulous. Features. Features are a distinctive attribute of something. All right, so a unique characteristic. Lions have special features that help them survive. Next, we have offered. If you offer, it means that you are going to give or present someone. You're going to give them maybe something. Brian offered to help Donna get up, right? So you're putting something, you are giving them something. And maybe they might reject you. They might say, no, no, thank you. Next, we have splendid. Splendid means that something is magnificent or really impressive. Katie's day at the zoo ended with a wonderful, splendid surprise. Next, we have unique. I've said the word unique a lot today. So unique means that there is only one of its kind. It is not like anything else. The anteater's long nose makes it a unique animal. Then we have watchful. So if you're watchful, it means that you are observing something very closely, right? You're going to use your eyes to be watchful. The ducklings learned to swim under the watchful eyes of their mother. So that brings us to our story for today. Our story today is something called a folk tale. Now, a folk tale is a short story that's usually passed down from generation to generation, from parents to their children. And usually people will tell this story by reading it or telling it over a campfire like they did years and years ago. Now, folk tales are stories that teach us a lesson, and they are usually not true stories. So the people in the stories are usually not true. It's usually a fantasy. So the title of our story is called Inchworm's Tale, and we're going to read about how one animal uses its special features to solve a problem. Long ago, Anant and his sister Anika went swimming. They swam all afternoon and became very tired. They were exhausted and climbed onto a large flat rock to rest. Soon they fell asleep. A strange and mysterious thing happened as they slept. The rock beneath them grew and expanded until it reached the clouds. Anant awoke and looked around. "Sister, wake up!" he cried in disbelief. "Am I dreaming, or are we among the clouds?" Anika rubbed her eyes. "You're not dreaming, brother. This rock has grown while we slept." The children looked around and saw fabulous blue sky and wonderful white clouds. The children were so high, Anika felt dizzy. Anant searched for a way to climb down, but he could not find a path. Anant and Anika started to cry. They felt fear and dismay. All right, so who are the characters that we have in the story? All right, so we have Anant and his sister Anika. Very good. And what is it that they are doing all day? Very good. So they were swimming. And what happened after they went swimming? They fell asleep. Very good. Fell asleep. Below, the villagers became worried. Where were the children? They searched the forests, meadows, rivers, and lakes. Then Isha, the village chief, looked around and noticed Hawk sitting on a tree branch. "Hawk, will you help us find Anant and Anika?" he asked. "You have sharp, watchful eyes and strong wings. They are your best features. Please use them to help us find the children." Hawk agreed to help and flew up into the sky. He tilted his head and squinted his eyes at the bright sunlight. When he was near the clouds, he spied the children on the rock. "Don't be afraid," said Hawk. "We will rescue you." Hawk was unable to carry the children down the rock, so he gathered lots of food for them to eat. Then he brought large leaves to keep them warm. Hawk wanted to make sure they were safe and unharmed. All right, so what is the problem in our story today? Okay, so the children are stuck high in the sky on a rock. Very good. So who do the villagers send to find the children? Yes, they send the hawk. Hawk flew down to the village and spoke to Isha. Isha called all the animals together and told them they needed help to get the children down. He asked each animal to use its most special feature to climb the tall rock. Several tried and failed. Mouse's teeth were strong and unique, but they couldn't help her climb up the rock. Bear's huge claws were good for climbing up trees. However, they could not help him scale rocks. Mountain lion's claws were sharp and powerful, but the rock was too slippery and he slid back down. Finally, a tiny voice filled with enthusiasm spoke up and offered to help. "May I try, please? It's me, Tutok, the inchworm." All right, so what kind of animals try to climb up the rock? Okay, so we have mouse tries, cannot, bear, cannot, mountain lion also cannot. So let's see if the little inchworm is able to climb the rock. Inchworm showed them all how skillful she was at climbing. Hawk volunteered to carry Inchworm to the top of the rock. Then she could lead Anant and Anika down the giant mountain. Isha agreed to the plan. So Hawk carefully picked up Inchworm in his beak. Together they flew to the top of the rock where the children were waiting. Along the way, Inchworm planned for the trip down. All right, so what did Inchworm show the villagers? Okay, so Inchworm is very skillful at climbing. It took almost a week for the three to climb down to the village. Inch by inch, Inchworm led the children carefully down the rocky slope. Every day, Hawk brought food to the children. Every day he reappeared in the village with news for the villagers. Finally, Inchworm, Anant, and Anika reached the bottom of the rock. Everyone cheered and called Inchworm a hero. It was a glorious, splendid day. From this day on, said Isha, I rename the big rock Tutak on Ula, after the brave Inchworm. All right, so what does the Inchworm do in order to help rescue the children? I want you to think about this because on the next page, we're going to talk about problem and solution. So what is causing problems in the story and how did they solve their problem is what we're going to do. So let's first revisit what is the problem in the story. Can you remember? Okay, perfect. So the kids are stuck at the top of a rock. It's basically in the sky. And they can't climb down. Okay? So they are stuck. So what is one thing that the villagers do to try to save them? Well, if you remember, the first thing is they send Hawk to find the children, okay? And Hawk does. Hawk finds the children. Next, they try to find people or an animal to climb the rock. Now, what animal do they find is able to actually climb the rock? The inchworm, very good. So the inchworm is going to be part of our solution. The inchworm can climb the rock. So Hawk takes him to the children. Now, on the way up the mountain, what does Inchworm do? He looks for a path down. So Inchworm rescues the children. Okay, can you remember how long it took them? Okay, very good. Yes, 3. All right, now let's move on and let's look at our vocabulary. So our vocabulary words are disbelief, offered, dismay, splendid, fabulous, unique, features, and watchful. I'm going to read you this paragraph. I would like you to write down your answers on a piece of paper. And at the end, I will give you all of the correct answers and we can see how well you did with the new vocabulary words. Okay? All right, here we go. Mom was in when she saw the state of the living room. Unable to understand what had happened, she looked around at the broken lamp, the stains on the one-of-a-kind carpet, and the footprints on the sofa. My brother and I heard some stories about what had happened. We described the animal that had done the damage. It had a beautiful coat, like a golden retriever, and a curled tail like a snake. It was the most incredible thing we had ever seen. Finally, under Mom's eye, we cleaned up. There was no creature, just us playing outdoor games in the living room. Okay, so take your time. Stop the video if you're not finished. That's okay. There's no hurry. There's no rush. When you finish writing your answers, hit play, and I'm going to go through the correct answers with you. Okay, so the first answer we have is dismay. Next, we have disbelief. Then we have unique. Next, offered. Features. Fabulous. Splendid. And last, we have watchful. All right, so how did you do with those? Hopefully you got a few of those correct. If not, make sure you do some practice with your vocabulary this week. All right, so next up, we are going to be looking at some grammar, okay? So we've been talking a lot about sentences in grade 3. And today we're going to be talking about sentences again. So let's read what it has to say. It says, a complete sentence has a subject and a predicate, right? A subject tells who or what the sentence is about. A predicate tells what the subject does, and it has something called a verb. Now, a verb is a word that tells what the subject does or is. The verb is the action, okay? So this is the action word, a verb. So we're going to look for the verb in these sentences. Number 1, I read a book about birds. Well, what is the action? What did they do? Well, read. I read. Read is the verb. Number 2, I learned about their nests. The verb is learned. Number 3, my neighbor is a bird watcher. Which one is showing that the neighbor has done something? That is. And number 4, she writes about the birds in our town. What does she do? She writes. Very good. Now, an action verb shows action in the predicate part of the sentence, okay? Just what we talked about. It tells what the subject does. Now, some of these action verbs are going to tell about feelings and actions that you can't really see, okay? Just like we learned about concrete nouns and abstract nouns. Concrete nouns were nouns we could see, taste, touch, hear, smell. And an abstract noun was a noun that we could only see in our mind, okay? The same thing is with the verb. There are some action verbs that we're going to actually be able to see. Running, jumping, kicking, okay? But then there are some action verbs that are going to talk about feelings and actions that we cannot see, okay? So let's look at number 1. Our class planned a picnic. Which word do you think is the action word? Planned. Very good. We thought, we planned. Number 2. We put tablecloths on the picnic tables. What is our action? Put, very good. So we're putting something, we're placing something. Number 3, everyone brought sandwiches. Which word is our action? Brought, very good. And number 4, John likes potato salad. This one is a feeling, very good, and it is likes. Yes, this is our actioner. He is doing something. Okay, now that takes us to our draft model for today. So let's go ahead and let's read our paragraph. I like butterflies. My favorites are monarch butterflies. They lay their eggs on milkwood plants. I think everyone should plant some milkweed in their yard today. I wonder who else likes butterflies too. Now, what we want to do is we want to try to make different kinds of sentence so the story is a little bit more interesting to read. Okay? So we want to learn how to use exclamatory, imperative, and interrogative sentences. Now remember that an exclamatory sentence is going to use an exclamation mark. Okay? We're going to exclaim something. So how could we rewrite the first sentence to make it exclamatory? Well, maybe I could say, I love butterflies. Or I could say, butterflies are my favorite. Number 2, how could you rewrite the fourth sentence to make it imperative? Now let's take a look at sentence number 4. It says, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think everyone should plant some milkweed in their yard today. Now remember that an imperative sentence is giving a command. It is telling you to do something. So instead of saying, I think everyone, we could say, and cross out, I think. And if we made this a capital E, everyone should plant some milkweed in their yard today. Okay, well, that is going to make that an imperative sentence. Next, how could you write the last sentence to make it interrogative? Now remember that interrogative is a question, okay? I wonder who else likes butterflies too. Maybe we could say, I wonder, do you like butterflies too? And this would give us our question. Okay, now let's put this all together. All right, here we go. I love butterflies. My favorites are monarch butterflies. They lay their eggs on milkweed plants. Everyone should plant some milkweed in their yard today. I wonder, do you like butterflies too? All right, so now we have 3 different kinds of sentences in our draft model. Now when we're writing English, we want to remember that variety is very important. So this was a great lesson for our English class today. All right, guys, that's the end of our exercises. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye.